everyone, I'm Anne Livingston, the convener of TC314 Ageing Society's Communications Group. Today it's my pleasure and privilege to be joined by Professor Allison Williams from Canada, who's going to talk about her work, particularly in developing standards for carer-inclusive organisations. Allison, would you like to just formally introduce yourself to our audience today?
Yeah, certainly. Thanks very much, Anne. I'm currently at McMaster University, and I hold a professorship and a research chair in gender work and care-friendly workplaces. I'm trained as a health geographer, and I belong to the School of Earth, Environment, and Society. I'm also a mother and a sister, a daughter, and a caregiver to my 90-year-old uncle and two aging parents, both of whom are in their 80s.
Thanks, Allison. What a big workload you've got there. The standards that you've developed are really important to recognise the roles that carers play in families, in communities, but also in workplaces. Would you like to talk a little bit more about the standard and what it includes?
Yeah, certainly. Thank you, Anne. So the standard is primarily a set of guidelines that outlines a process for the development of supportive policies and actions to achieve a carer-inclusive workplace. And when we think about a carer-inclusive workplace, we're really thinking about the potential of adding value for organizations as well as employees and communities more broadly with respect to providing caregiver supports and accommodations in order to fit the needs of care workers and allow better performance for both the workforce and the industry more broadly. So the standard has been identified by the International Standards Organization as also being gender responsive, particularly given that it highlights the gendered aspect of caregiving. And it also includes an informative annex about the importance of using a sex and gender lens in the development of carer-inclusive workplaces. And we do this because we know primarily globally that between 57 and 81% of all carers are female, depending upon the country context. So in Canada, for example, we know that 80% of all carer employees are female. So again, that fits within that 57 to 81% range.
Allison, you've highlighted some really significant statistics there. And let's, on behalf of everyone, I'd like to congratulate you and your team in this working group for the work that you've done. It's so important in contemporary work environments. What sort of traction have you had with the standard since it's been released?
Thank you, Anne. We've really had a wonderful opportunity to partner with the International Alliance of Care Organizations, IACO. And IACO represents 18 different member countries from both low, middle, and high income regions of the world. And through our dissemination specific to an IACO workshop specifically focused on supporting working carers, we've been able to get some traction, particularly from Carers Israel, who are currently in the process of adopting the standard. So that's a really exciting initiative. We also know that there's an interest in many low and middle income countries, particularly given that the standard is really in keeping with at least 5 of the United Nations Sustainability Development Goals, primarily goal number 5, gender inequality and reduced inequalities. Again, given the importance of the value of unpaid care and the promotion of shared domestic responsibilities in achieving gender equality. Secondly, goal number 8, decent work and economic growth, recognizes that women makes up to close to 40% of the labor market internationally. And so if they're no longer employed due to unpaid care work responsibilities, economic growth will suffer. SDG number 3, good health and well-being, recognizes the importance of employment as a social determinant of health, and also recognizes that women are primarily responsible for their family members, particularly as they relate to food, vaccination, health services, and medicine. And then finally, we have SDG number 1, no poverty, which recognizes that the majority of unpaid carers are women, and women provide significantly more caregiving hours than men. So they actually experience a greater impact on their paid employment and are therefore more prone to poverty. So employment clearly is the primary way out of poverty, as well as the primary way to prevent poverty. So again, those are just 4 really quick SDGs that are informed by the work that we've done with respect to the carer standard. And there's a wide range of additional SDGs that clearly are impacted, such as sustainable cities and communities. Because if we have, again, more sustainable cities and communities, we have the ability of care workers to be better supported through, again, their resiliency.
Thanks, Alison. They're really important global alignment there. Are you yourself doing further research into this area?
Yes, that's a great question, Anne. I'm really interested in exploring the possibility of scaling up the international standard, particularly in low and middle income countries, particularly those countries who are experiencing greatest gender inequality. And the intentionality there is to really ensure that we are making a mark and promoting change in the equal division of unpaid care work in these particular countries. And we're planning on doing that through collaborations with the UN Women organizations throughout the low and middle income countries. And that's the intent for likely the next 5 years. So it's going to be an exciting but extremely challenging endeavor. So I look forward to all the support that we can get in making that happen.
Fantastic. This is a great overview of your work, Professor Williams. Thank you so much for joining us today. On the next slide, you can see the key contacts for ISO TC 314 Aging Societies and a key contact for Professor Williams in her work. Thank you everyone for joining us today, and thank you particularly Professor Williams.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, Anne.